everyone. I am Kate Volman, and I am so excited to be joined by the awesome Jay Baer.
Kate, what is going on?
I am doing so awesome. Thank you so much, Jay, for taking the time. Jay
Pleasure.
is the founder of Convince and Convert, and he and his awesome team over there work with their clients to get them better at social media and content marketing. He's been working with some of the most iconic brands for over 20 years, which is crazy. And he's a New York.
Better than I look.
Yeah. No, you look super young. You're awesome.
Thank you.
He's a New York Times bestselling author. He has a new book that's coming out called Hug Your Haters. Awesome. And
Yes.
he is a speaker. He's also the #1 most tweeted person in the digital marketing world, which is so cool. And last year, his Social Pros podcast won Best Podcast. So, I mean, how many accolades can we fit in one video? It's
Keep on going. How long do you want this to go?
So, Jay, I really
I'm going to
appreciate
record this and show my kids because they think I'm an idiot. So I'm just going to be like, look what Kate says.
Right? I'm actually cool.
I'm legit. When you have 2 kids in high school, though, you get no credit at home.
Oh
like
my
none.
gosh.
So,
I'm sure. I can only imagine. Well, in the digital marketing world, you're a superstar. So that's what matters. But I appreciate you taking the time. I have been such a fan of yours for so long. And I'm just excited to talk about small business. And I want to talk about Hug Your Haters, but kind of backing up a little bit for the small business owner. Your other book, Youtility, is amazing. And I want to talk a little bit about that for small business because I find when I speak to small businesses, they're so excited about the tactics and the tools and technology, and they totally forget about the content piece and how important, obviously, that is for social media. So let's start there and talk about why that's so important.
Sure. Well, I think almost everybody now has some sense that content marketing is going to be part of their overall communications mix, that some of the older, more traditional style marketing and advertising, even for small businesses, whether it's TV, radio, print, outdoor, direct mail, etc., it's just not as effective as it once was. And customers today hold all the cards. They are constantly online. Almost all of your customers have a smartphone, which means they have access to all of the world's information at all times in their pants. And so consequently, they are doing more and more and more research before making purchases of anything. I wrote a book called Youtility for Accountants about 18 months ago, which is all about making marketing really, really useful. If you're an accounting firm, you might think, well, geez, how important is technology and content marketing for accounting firms? Really important, because a lot of customers, not every customer, but a lot of customers are going to do a lot of research before hiring an accountant. And so the concept of utility and the definition of utility, Kate, is creating marketing that is so useful that people would pay for it if you ask them to do so. Now, you don't actually charge them because it is marketing. It is going to benefit you eventually, but it is so valuable. It has so much sort of intrinsic usefulness that if you said, hey, would you kick in a couple dollars for this? People would say, yeah, I totally would. And small businesses can and absolutely should create this kind of marketing. And you see it all the time. You just may not recognize it. So here in my town in Indiana, there are multiple realtors who create the sports schedule. So here's the schedule of all the high school sports because it's always kind of hard to find on the high school's website and no one really knows. And that's brought to you by the realtor. That's really useful marketing. Would I pay them for a consolidated high school sports schedule? I absolutely would. But instead they give it away and now they're on my radar. And while I don't need to buy or sell a home right now, eventually I may. And that's who I'm probably going to think of first.
That's awesome. And that's a great example. And one of the things that I love about your book is the use of so many examples, because I love when you say that the advice some people give is to a small business owner, just be amazing, just be more amazing. And like, what does that mean to a small business? Nothing.
Yep.
They already think they're amazing, but at the end of the day, they're not so amazing, as you say. So some of those examples in that book are just really bring it to life and help to kind of stir some creativity among the small business owner that is trying to come up with that utility for their business.
Thank you.
am a huge fan of the book, and people need to read that if they have not yet done so.
There's an example I really like that's not in the book. There's lots of stuff that's not in the book now because I come across new examples all the time. But there is a locksmith in Oklahoma who put together a whole infographic and poster on what to do when you want to go buy a used car. So when should you shop and how should you make an offer and what which offer should you take and how should you negotiate and all these kind of things. It's really fantastic. And then he did a partnership with the car dealers in his local market, and the car dealers created a poster which was what to do when you lock yourself out of your car. So they actually came at it
Oh,
together from both perspectives,
I
both
love
being
it.
useful both being useful in an unexpected way. It could also be emailed. You could do it on your website, blog posts, etc. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So when you work with your clients, you work with mostly companies that have an in-house social media or digital marketing team, and you're coming in and helping them with the
Generally,
strategies. So
that's right.
what what does that look like? What is their biggest challenge? Is it the strategy? Is it the tools? What are you guys helping them?
Um, I would say it's definitely changed over the years. I've had this company commit to convert now for almost 8 years, and so the kind of things that we get asked to do are different than they used to be. So the questions we used to get asked were, well, should we do
Mm.
social media and content marketing? And we would say it depends, and put together a strategy accordingly. Now, pretty much everybody is doing it. Now, the questions we get asked are a lot more around resource allocation.
Mm.
So, how much money should we spend? Or how much emphasis should we put on Facebook versus Twitter versus Snapchat versus Instagram? Or what should we do with our blog versus YouTube? Or those kind of questions. It's more operational in some cases than it is strategic. The other thing that we get called in to do a lot is referee disputes inside large companies. So, for example, the marketing team wants to do it one way, the customer service team wants to do it another. We get called in
Ah.
to kind of think that through a lot. And then we also get asked a lot to figure out metrics. So people say, well, we think we're doing a pretty good job, but we're not sure that we're keeping score the best possible way. We're not really sure what the actual value of social media or content marketing is for this organization. So can you help us measure it? So we do a lot of scorecard creation and those kind of things too.
So for the small business owner who obviously they know they need to be on social, that's been established, and they're coming up with different content to post.
Yeah.
What operationally? What do you advise them? Because I know a lot of them they
Yep.
get an intern or they have their
Yeah.
front desk person doing it. Like, what do you advise them?
In small businesses where the owner is still active, right, is still in the business day to day, I don't really recommend that you have somebody else do all of it. Now, I certainly understand that as a small business owner, as I am, you don't always have time to do all the granular sort of day-to-day hands-on keyboard kind of blocking and tackling because social media in particular, it's not hard, but it is complicated and it's most
Hmm.
definitely time-consuming. But ultimately you have to realize that your company's social media presence and to some degree your content marketing presence is a reflection of you and your personality. One of the reasons why your company is successful is because of you and your personality. And you can't fully outsource your voice. You still have to have a handle on what's being said and how it's being said. And so instead of just saying, well, I've got my brother's son's, roommate doing it or whatever, and I don't even know what's going on Facebook, don't do that because, you got to realize that in these online social media circumstances, it's a spectator sport. Like a lot of people are watching what's going on. And
Hmm.
so I wouldn't be so quick to just turn that over to a kid because they grew up with this stuff.
Right.
That may be true. Look, it's as I talk about in my new book, it's much easier to teach somebody Twitter than it is to teach them your whole business. So be careful about outsourcing everything. But in general, my advice is this. If you don't love social media, you suck at social media, pretty much generally speaking. Like you can't force yourself to be good at it. So if you're thinking, okay, where should I spend my time? Spend your time in social media on whatever venue or venues you actually like personally. Okay. So if you love pictures, get good at Instagram. If you like video, do YouTube. If you like things that expire really quickly, do Snapchat. Whatever. Figure out what you personally like, the community that you enjoy, the interface that you think is fun, and put more effort there, because if you like it, you'll do it more. And a lot of social media success for small business is just consistency. It's just showing up every day. Success in social media is built on perspiration, not inspiration.
Love it. Okay, let's talk about your book. And
New
thank
book.
you. First of all, thank you for sending this to me. It was so fun to get to read a book that's not yet out. I feel so
How about
special.
that?
I
You
know.
are a special secret.
And my fun socks that I got
Hot
too.
socks. I love hater
I
socks
love
that you get.
haters.
How about that?
Love that. All right, so there are so many great things in this book that I really
Thanks.
enjoyed. And like your other books, there's so much, there's data, there's facts. It's not just you kind of, oh, I think this will work. Or, that I love that about it. So first of all, just why did you write the book, and just give like a brief overview?
Yeah, so we started to see a lot on the consulting business, continual confusion about customer service and the role that technology plays, and it is incredibly important. So much of how we interact with customers now is playing out in public in a way that it didn't used to be. It used to be if you had a complaint about a business, you would call or email, or maybe you'd go see them face to face, especially in a small business. And now that happens less and less, and people instead are going to social media, review sites like Yelp, etc. And discussion boards and forums to complain or ask for help. And a third of all complaints now are not answered ever. And almost all of those complaints that are not answered are online in social media, Yelp, etc., the places where it is public. So it's a huge challenge. It's also a huge opportunity for business. And so thank you for acknowledging the research. You're right. As opposed to most books on customer service that are essentially, this is a good idea, I say so, trust me. I actually conducted a massive research project into the science of complaint, who complains and where they complain and why they complain and how. And that research forms the basis for the recommendations in Hug Your Haters. And essentially what we discovered was that businesses, small and large, have this massive opportunity if they answer customers in these public places, social media, discussion boards and forums, review sites, etc. They have this huge opportunity to generate additional customer loyalty, therefore additional revenue and profit.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love when you said, not responding is a response. There's so many goodnesses. There's pieces of gold in this book. And one of them that you said was the least discussed benefits of hugging your haters was the fact that obviously they're giving you feedback.
It's free market research. And I got to tell you, like a bunch of my friends here in my town are small business owners, a bunch. And most of them do not answer anybody in any of these venues. Maybe a little bit on their Facebook page, but they don't answer complaints on Twitter. They don't answer reviews on Yelp or TripAdvisor and those kind of places. And these are guys that I know, and they're like, no, we just don't get involved in those things. I'm like, okay, so you answer the phone when you're only dealing with one person, but you refuse to answer it when a bunch of other people are watching. That seems backwards. You would actually literally be better off not answering the phone and instead answering in social media than the other way around. But of course, that's not how business is actually done. And I'm really glad you acknowledged the feedback part of this, because look, Kate, the most overrated thing in business, and in fact, the most overrated thing in life, is praise. Because praise teaches you nothing. Every time somebody says, you're so great at this, you're so great at that, your business is good at this, your business is good, it feels great, right? But you learn nothing. You always already knew that. 100% of the time, you already knew that. What teaches you is criticism, which is why haters, the customers who bash you, are your most important customers, not your least important customers, because they're going out of their way to tell you something that might allow you to make your business better. And we're so quick, especially small businesses. I mean, seriously, small businesses are worse at this. They're so quick to say, well, you know what, that customer's lying, and you know what, they were a bad customer anyway, so screw those guys. And they just write them off. And it's crazy. You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, maybe I should have started this interview with criticism instead of praising you.
Yeah, right. Taught me,
Oops, my bad.
taught me something.
Thank you. When it comes to online reviews, you did say that one of the biggest questions you get is, should you ask for them? Should you even ask for them? And what is your response?
such a common question, especially among small businesses and in certain categories where reviews are really important. Reviews are important for all categories of business, which I mentioned in the book, but for some more than others. Certainly, restaurants and hospitality and retail and those kind of things. And it is okay to nudge a customer and say, "Hey, we'd love it if you provided a review." It's not okay to demand it or to say, look, if you write us a review on Yelp, we'll give you $25 off. That is actually not only against terms of service for most of the sites, it's actually borderline illegal. I'll tell you how to do it well. So just this isn't in the book because it just happened. So 3 weeks ago, I was in Mexico with my team, and we go down there every year for an annual strategic planning thing. So we all went to dinner. There's 20 of us at dinner in this amazing restaurant in Puerto Vallarta called La Cliff, and it's on a cliff. And it was really a spectacular, spectacular meal. So we finished dinner, and we're the last ones there, and we're like all kinds of booze into this, right? And so the waiter, Ramon, comes up and as he's ready to sort of drop off the check, he says, "Look, I just want you guys to know that obviously this is a tourist destination, and winter is our high season. Summer is the low season because it's really hot and there's hurricanes and all that. And so we actually close the restaurant in June, July, and August. So I don't work at all June, July, and August, which is a little tricky for my family and I. But here's what we do. Our manager has a program where every time somebody leaves a review on TripAdvisor and mentions my name, Ramon, he gives me a paid day during June, July, and August. So if I can get 45 reviews between now and June, I get 45 paid days where ordinarily I would get zero. And I was like, wow, that is unbelievable. So we're all like, this is the greatest thing ever. I just wrote a book about this. So we get like 12 reviews in half an hour from our whole team. Got to get
Aw.
off. And he gave us a little card too. It says, mention my name, Ramon, a little business card so we can find him on TripAdvisor. Really smart. So that kind of thing where you're just sort of like, look, I'm not going to pay you explicitly, but I want you to do it. And here's why. And doing it at the right point is very much a best practice, and all small businesses should do it.
I love that. What a great example.
A
And
lot of fun.
that's really cool. And when it comes to answering all these complaints online, how do you put that in place for like protocol with a company? Like, is it who answers them? How do they answer?
Yeah. It depends on the business and where they get most of the complaints, because there's big differences in expectations from consumers on time. So social media, they expect you to get back faster than a review site, for example. So you want to kind of create a pie chart or a flow chart and say, okay, if it's on Facebook, that's first, and then Twitter, and then the phone, and then email, and you sort of stair step that. And in some cases, it's the same people answering regardless of channel. In other cases, it's specific people do social media and other people do email and phone. So it really depends on the organization. But the recommendations in the book, in Hug Your Haters, which is at hugyourhaters.com, registered on GoDaddy. If you go to hugyourhaters.com, there's the book, you can buy the book, all that. But the recommendations are that you answer every complaint in every channel every time, always. And the reality of that, Kate, is that takes real resources. Like, I'm not suggesting that that's easy, because I know it's not. I know firsthand that it's not. To answer everybody is not easy. And what I hear all the time, especially from small businesses, well, we don't have enough resources to do that. To which I say, well, that's not actually true. You just choose to not spend your resources in that way. I remember a time when I first got into business when there was no email, because email had not really been invented yet. And then we had to figure out, like, well, how are we going to spend the time to answer email? And what people said then, and I know because I was there, is they said, well, we don't have enough resources to answer all these emails, but we found a way to do it. We stopped doing things that were inefficient in order to have the time to answer email. And this is just a natural evolution of the same principle.
Awesome. So doing all this research, was there one thing that surprised you out of the data?
I mean, several things surprised me, but the one that probably I didn't see coming at all was in social media, right? If I say to you, hey, what do people use in social media when they need help? What would you say?
When they need what? What do they need when they need
Yeah, so,
help?
so like if somebody has a question or a problem and they want to use social media to get it resolved, they typically go to Twitter, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Yep.
Lots of companies have specific Twitter accounts just for customer service, all that. Well, it turns out that the research found that 71% of all social media complaints are on Facebook. Only 17% are on Twitter, which is like a huge difference. And so we're spending all this time thinking about Twitter, but we're probably not spending enough time thinking about Facebook. And that was a real shock to me, especially as a company that advises other corporations on how to handle this. That 71 to 17 was really a surprise.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I always go right to Twitter, and usually the companies I've dealt with, well, they're bigger, like a go-to meeting. They're pretty quick to respond, which is good.
I like
Um,
those guys. Actually, just did a webinar with them last week.
did you? Yeah, I like them too. All right, so you people just need to get the book because there's so much goodness in
I
there. We
agree.
can't talk about
I agree.
everything. You even have a little playbook for hugging your haters. I
The book has a
love.
poster. You get a poster in the book
Oh,
called the
sweet.
Hatrix, which talks about all the different data. If you buy 7 books, you got to buy 7 books. You get it because you're fantastic and beautiful. But if you buy 7 books for the rest of you, not Kate, you get I Love Hater Socks. But
Yes.
you got to go to hugyourhaters.com and buy them from me, so that way I can know who you are and all that. But hugyourhaters.com, buy 7 books, socks for you.
I love it. Yes, buy the book. It is awesome. And when is it? I mean, I know when is it actually coming out?
March 1st. March 1st. So 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks from when we're recording this. So March 1st is the official date.
Awesome, awesome. And everyone does need to go to convinceandconvert.com because your emails are awesome. The content
Thanks.
you create is just ridiculous. It's so good, and your podcast, being able to talk to all these bigger companies are and just kind of hearing how they're doing social media is just it's just really great stuff. So thank you so much for all that you share and all that you do. And it was so fun to talk to you. Like I
Thank you.
said,
We'll do it again.
I've been a real big fan of yours. So this
And
was really fun for me. So I appreciate that. And
my
so people can obviously find you to get the book and then online all through all the different channels, really.
Yeah,
Twitter, Facebook,
if you just
Instagram.
search my name, Baer, Baer, there's lots of places to find me. And speaking of small business, we have one podcast. We do 6 podcasts now every week, and the one that I really recommend for small business owners is called The Business of Story, and it's a show that's hosted by my good friend Park Howell, and it's all about how to apply kind of Hollywood style storytelling principles into your marketing and communications. It's a really good show, really thoughtful, fantastic guests, and it's sponsored by some terrific small business companies. And I think you'd really like that show.
Awesome. All right, check it out. Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate it.
See you later. Thank you.